thanks for joining us. We are here with someone who's very inspirational. You've seen her on the show as a wealth management coach, but here you're talking about something even closer to your heart. This is Tiffany Barnes, and Tiffany, you started an organization, a nonprofit organization, when you were 16 years old. That's something many of us, even in our adult years, can accomplish. Will you tell us what made you start this organization that is now helping so many people? Let's go back to your teenage years.
Absolutely. So I was emancipated from my parents at a very young age. By the time I was 13 years old, I had suffered all forms of abuse. And I eventually became emancipated, as I mentioned, at 15 years old from my parents. You know, I paid rent in high school, I paid bills, I was literally on my own. I could check myself in and out of school. And I had a lot of kids coming up to me saying, you know, why are you living on your own? How did this come about? And I would tell them, you know, I'd suffered abuse, and, you know, having them come to me and share their stories of abuse as well, kind of a light bulb went off, if you will, realizing this is an epidemic and a lot of people feel they don't have a place to go. And so I started a support group that turned into a 501c3 nonprofit as it is today.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't see that very often, where someone has to endure such abuse and then turns it into something positive. And that is, how is that even possible? I'm sure you were in a lot of pain. That's a very painful thing to go through. That wasn't your fault. How did you get to the idea that you could help others? They were sharing their stories, but how did you say, this is my calling to put something together to help?
Well, I think if I reflect back a little bit, I was suicidal and anorexic, and I had those dark times.
Yeah.
And when people would come to me and share their story, I wanted to make sure they weren't going through those same dark times.
Yes.
And just be a shoulder to cry on, or a listening ear, just somebody that understood where they were coming from. And little did I know that group of 10 kids was going to steamroll, as I mentioned, into a national 501c3. But it's all about empowering people, because people have things that happen to them and they choose to use it as their crutch their whole life, and they never use it as a stepping stone to the future to do better and be better. And I just hope that I'm that light for others.
Well, I think that when people go through something difficult, they tend to isolate themselves. And if you feel like you're part of a group and that you have that acceptance and belonging from other people, it becomes easier to accept yourself. So do you think that that's what S.H.A.R.E now provides for people, is that sense of belonging, and you've been through it and I've been through it. You're not just giving me lip service, you're actually, I belong with you. I'm fully accepted by you. Do you feel like that's the kind of the mission of your group now?
Definitely. There's that camaraderie there for sure. And like I say, you know, when you have that opportunity to talk with each other about what you both have been through, maybe your abuse is different than my abuse, but it's still something we've suffered through. And to have that, you know, it does wonders for a person. People say, how did you get through it? I don't have one particular way. I know that journaling was really big for me, but also having people that I would talk to where it wasn't falling on deaf ears, saying, oh, you're lying, or this never happened, or, you know, where they also went through it and they understood my pain.
Yeah, that can be so isolating, where you feel like there's maybe a stigma on it, that you can't talk about it, and you feel like you're in a safe place with people who have been through it. Is it a very common situation to be in, suffering physical, sexual, verbal, mental, emotional abuse these days? Yes,
actually Utah is ranked #1 in the United States for sexual abuse right now, which is just frightening. The statistics are so staggering. Yeah. We're #8 in the United States for just abuse in general. Wow. But if you look in a room full of people, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men before the age of 18 have suffered some form of abuse. And a lot of people don't talk about it. They don't handle it, and they carry it all into their adult years, and it affects their romantic relationships, their business relationships. I mean, it can follow them throughout their whole life if they never deal. And you're stopping the cycle by giving people a safe place. Now, where can people go and support you? Is this the website, sharethemovement.org? Yes, it is. Okay, thank you so much for your work in this field. Such a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much, and we'll be right back.